It is 2:03, and just to respect everyone's time, I know we've still got folks kind of clicking into the meeting, but I'm going to go ahead and formally start the first annual CBE Summit. And first and foremost, I want to thank everyone for being part of the summit and just welcome you this afternoon. There are a lot of people that I want to thank really quickly. Our President's Council, along with the Illinois Community College Board. Also want to give a special thanks to Pam Lau, Dr. Pam Lau of Parkland College, Kirk Overstreet at John A. Logan, Tim Taylor at Shawnee. Those are my partners in crime here who helped organize this summit. I want to thank all of them. I know, a couple of them got tied up today, as we typically do as presidents with things, but just want to extend a special thank you to those three colleagues for serving on the President's Committee for CBE and continuing to help nudge this needle forward on developing a framework for CBE in Illinois. A few other very important thank yous, and some of these folks are on the call today as well. Sue Keener, my executive assistant, who's just an absolute rock star and champion of all of the work we do. She was here late yesterday, along with Ron Wall, my chief data and technology officer, and Chris McLaughlin, who's our information security analyst here at Lewis and Clark. Just working behind the scenes to make sure this thing worked today. And so I want to thank them for just their commitment and energy in dealing with me and trying to get this stuff going. Also, before we get started, just a huge thank you to all of our speakers, Dr. Tom Bordenkirscher, the Vice President of Accreditation Relations at HLC, Brandy Westmoreland, who's one of our competency-based ed consultants today. She's presenting the second half of the conference. Kurt Lindberg, also one of our consultants. Cyril Hazelton, Jamie Nelson, and Aaron Hughes, all from the Tennessee Regents, who are going to share their story of their competency-based ed model in Tennessee. And Mario Hayek, who's the Dean of Business over at Southern Illinois University in Edwardsville, who will also be serving on the panel this afternoon. So what we're going to do quickly, a couple of just logistical things. As soon as Dr. Arthur Levine completes the opening comments, you'll be moving into the rooms that you registered for. If there's any issues, we have members of our team here with Ron, with Chris. My executive team is also here. So Dr. Lori Artis, Dr. Sharice Jackson, Dr. Sue Serwinski, Mary Schulte, and of course, Ron. Each of them have been assigned a room. So just in case there are issues logistically in the sessions, they'll be able to help manage that, as well as keep track of time. So we can get all of you back into the main room by about 2:50 p.m. Gives you about a 10-minute break, everyone, between the first session and the second session, which will start at 3 o'clock. And then as soon as that ends, you'll come back into the main room for the panel. So with that being said, it's an honor for me to introduce Dr. Arthur Levine. I've gotten to know Arthur over the years. He's a champion, not only for competency-based education, but a champion for access, a champion for education, a champion for all of the work that we do. Arthur is serving as president at Brandeis University. He's the author, as you all likely know, of many, many books, including the hugely popular The Great Upheaval. Without further ado, and without taking up time from Arthur, welcome, Arthur. Thank you, my friend, for joining us this afternoon. And I will hand it off to you to kick off our first annual summit on competency-based education. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you. I'm really pleased to be with you for two reasons. The first is you're pioneers. You're charting the future of American higher education. And I salute you for doing that. The second reason I'm really glad to be here, I am an unabashed member of the Ken Traska fan club. Now look, we all know what's happening in America. The country's shifting from a national analog industrial economy to a global digital knowledge economy. And the pace of change is extraordinary. It's profound, it's unrelenting, it's accelerating. And what you're seeing in Illinois, and we're seeing all over the country, is demographic change, economic change, global change, technological change, and now political change. Every institution in the country, and I said this was true for Illinois, it's true for the other states represented here as well. Every institution is going to experience these changes. And you know what the stats are? 20 to 25% are going to close. The hardest hit are likely to be community colleges and regionals. And what they're going to be doing, what you're going to be doing, is competing with Coursera, which now has over 125 million students. And what they're offering is anytime, any place education. What they're offering is cheaper, unbundled, brand name education offered by the top businesses, the top universities, and the top knowledge organizations in the world. So what that leaves is wealthy research universities and elite colleges. And in that category, what we're going to see happen is there are really two bunches of institutions. The first bunch are the very, very wealthy in those categories. And what they're going to do is they're going to feel the pain, but they have time to change, depending upon what the President of the United States says. They have time to change. They have the money to wait. And what they'll end up doing is not innovating as you're innovating. What they'll end up doing is being the validator. Harvard will be the validator of the innovations that you try. So how does CBE fit into any of this? And, you know, some people, I've visited a lot of campuses in the last 2 years, last 3 years. A lot of people think this is a fad. You know, we had this burst of CBE in the early 70s, and it didn't last very long. The only institution that adopted a program then, and still has it now, is Alverno in Milwaukee. And the Alverno, if you look at the Alverno website, competency-based education isn't mentioned, just subject areas they want you to have excellence in. So, what's it mean? In truth, CBE is inevitable. The current model of higher education was built for an industrial era, and it focuses, it standardizes, it fixes time and process. In that sense, it's a lot like an assembly line. And I don't say that critically. Assembly lines are an incredibly important innovation. They remain so. But a digital knowledge economy focuses on outcomes. It is agnostic about process. It's agnostic about time. All it cares about is that you reach the outcome. And what that means is that process and time become variables. In terms of education, this means a whole bunch. The focus of our education shifts from the teacher to the learner. It shifts from time to outcomes. It shifts from process to learning. The current system made sense for more than 2 centuries, but a whole bunch has changed beyond the economy. We know a lot more than we did in the 19th century about how people learn. We know all people can't learn the same things in the same amount of time. And none of us can learn every subject at the same rate that we learn the other subjects. I really like history. I can learn that fast. I'm not very good at foreign languages. I learn that slow. So what's that mean? What it means is it makes sense to focus on what we want to achieve, what we want students to learn, rather than how long we want them to study. Second, higher education is less homogeneous than it once was. It's more diverse than it once was. More diverse than how we started. And that's in every way. In gender, in religion, in region, in finances, in ethnicity. And the reason that this is so very, very important is because of equity, a quaint word. But it's not fairness. It requires that we give all students not exactly the same amount of time to achieve an outcome, but give them the amount of time they need to achieve that outcome and the resources necessary to achieve it. That's why CBE, and that's why now. I believe it so much that yesterday, the Board of Trustees of Brandeis University, after an 88% vote of the faculty in favor, approved the transformation of the Brandeis curriculum. I only want to talk about two parts of it. The plan will reinvent the liberal arts for the global digital knowledge economy. The two parts that matter for this conversation: we're going to institute a competency-based general education program focusing on the skills and knowledge students need to thrive in the global digital knowledge economy. The second piece is careers. We're going to go create a second transcript. And we're going to let students learn career-aligned competencies. We'll give them for that micro-credentials. But those are going, and we'll record them on a second transcript that we designate for employers in graduate schools. So, for good or for bad, we're all in the same boat now. Or we're contemplating getting into that boat with us. You're all the early adopters. Now that's really challenging because you're inventing much of what we do with very limited of models to follow. The good news is we have an opportunity, us have an opportunity to reinvent higher education at a time which is desperately needed. And you want to know something? I can't imagine a better group to do this than you. Thank you all very, very much.
Thank you, Arthur. Does any, we're gonna, Arthur and I chatted briefly before. Are there any questions? You can post them in the chat, a couple of questions for Arthur, and then I know he's got to get on to another commitment. So 2 or 3 minutes of any questions that Arthur could entertain. Please just either unmute yourself and ask those or post them in the box, in the chat box. I don't hear any questions. I don't see anything. Okay.
In that case, lots of luck, everybody. Higher education really needs you to succeed. Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
Arthur. Have a great afternoon. Thank you.
You too.
All right, everyone. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and move you into your first sessions. So that's going to happen now. And if for some reason you are not moved into that room in which you were assigned to, either Ron or someone on the team will make sure that you get into that room. So if we can go ahead and get that going, Ron, we'll go ahead and start to move all of you into the rooms. And presenters, don't forget, you can share your screen And each one of the exec team members are assigned to a room, and they will be recording the sessions as well. So thank you, everyone. We'll see you after the first session back here at about 3 o'clock.